All right, let's look at this lovely passage of Marshall here. Really is a good one. For no tinemium rapacitatis compilare cilix volebat hortum, ingenti sederat fabuli in horto, praeter marmorium nihil priapum, dum non vult vacua manu ridere, ipsum soripuit cilix priapum. Nice short, epigrammatic. Epigrams are nice short little poems that tend to contain their entire meaning inside these short couple lines. They're between, they can be 2 to like 7 or 8 lines long. And Marshall is famous for making them short and pithy and trying to make a joke. So let's see if we can try and understand what he's saying here. All right, first word we got here, fur. It's kind of a weird word, but it just means a thief. So we know right away that's not a big deal. Fur is our nominative subject. Fun thing with these is, as much as possible, we're going to try and keep meaning together on one line. This doesn't always happen in poetry. When it doesn't happen, we call it enjambment. But for the most part, we want to keep units together. So we have for, a thief. And this next whole section, noti nimium repacitatis, is going to be a single unit of meaning, right? Noti, notum. Nota, known. Nimium, an adverb meaning excessively or well. And rapicitatis, notice once again you have the is ending here. So we know right away with the ae ending and the is endings that these genitives go together. And this nimium adverb in the middle here is going to be modifying the general sense of meaning of this whole unit. So I'm going to put this in little parentheses here to mark that out. A thief. And in your notes it just said of well-known greed or something like that. This is what Dickie gave you, right? There was a thief of excessively known, of well-known rapacity, greed, desire to steal things. There's your first line. All right, compilare, we have the are ending here, so we know right away this is an infinitive of some kind, so we have to ask, why is this an infinitive? It's either going to be an infinitive in indirect discourse, or it's going to be a complementary infinitive. We run to our main verb, volebat, from volo, right? And we know it's a complementary infinitive going with volo. Cilix is the name of our thief, so we're going to finally come back up here and pair these two words, fur and cilix, together. And so cilix, volebat, remember, bombosbot, imperfect. So cilix, a thief of well-known greed, was wishing to compilare, to plunder, steal from, right, raid, a hortum, horto. Hortum, horti is a garden, and that is our direct object. He's wishing to raid a garden. And then we'll end this whole section and say, okay, there's a full unit. All right, another thing that you'll see a lot in poetry that's kind of funny is words, especially little conjunctions like this, will get moved around in the line to make room for other kinds of jokes and meaning. So sed is actually going to always, you're just going to move that to the front of the line. Sed ingenti erat in horto fabulae. Fabulae, right, that's going to be just evocative. Fabulous. Erat, right, third singular. That's our main verb. I can put a V there. Third singular imperfect, right, indicative of to be. All right, in horto, there's a prepositional phrase here. In the garden, fabulous, but it is, or it was, put it in the past. This is, now we have to really think through this funny little word, ingenti, that's sticking all the way out at the end, and this is where poetry gets really fun. So if we think through ingens, ingentis, ingenti, ingens, or ingentem, ingenti, we know this is either going to be dative or ablative. Is there any other datives in this line? Does a dative make sense in any way here? Well, ingens is an adjective. Like we said, it has to modify something. There's no other datives in this line. But there is, all the way over here in horto, an ablative. So chances are, ingenti, sitting so far away from horto, is actually modifying garden. So why would Marshall do this? Well, let's translate it and see what kind of effect he's making. So if we say fabulous, said erat, but there was fabulous in the ingenti horto, in the giant garden. And look, we've emphasized how big the garden is by putting ingens so far away from hortum. But fabulous there was in the giant garden, and then we're done. Everything in that line makes sense. We haven't completed our sentence. The next unit will complete the sentence, but all the little parts of a sentence stay together on a single line. All right. But fabulous there was in the giant garden, praeter memorium priapum nihil. So the first thing we're going to say is, well, do we have a subject in the sentence yet? But there was, or it was, some kind of subject here in the giant garden fabulous. Praeter memoriam priapum. Well, praeter is going to be a preposition that takes an accusative. So that makes sense. Praeter memoriam. But memoriam, again, is going to be an adjective. So it needs a noun to modify it. Do we have a noun that's in the accusative in this sentence going with praeter, which means except, takes the accusative case? The only thing we have is priapus. So actually, once again, we're going to get this thing outside of the prepositional phrase that needs to get pulled in. But fabulous there was in the giant garden, except for a marble priapus, there was what? Finally find our subject. Nihil is indeclinable. There was nothing in the giant garden except for a marble priapus. Okay, final unit of meaning. Notice how so far each phrase has been a nice little couplet. For notae nimim replicitatis compilare cilix volebat hortum, right? One nice couplet, and then we move into the next nice couplet from ingenti to priapum. All right, final section. Dum non voltum aqua manu ridire ipsum serepuit cilax priapum. Notice we have another nice little section. It gets even better because we have a doom clause. So the doom clause is contained in this line from doom until the comma here, and the main clause is contained in this line. All right, so literally doom means while, right? Non adverb, meaning not. Main verb wolt, right? So while he did not wish, wolt takes a complementary infinitive. We see it over here. Redire, he did not wish to go back. Redire, to return. Wakuamanu. Wakuamanu goes together. Once again, you have a note that just says empty-handed, but literally, he did not wish to return with empty hand. Another kind of ablative we haven't learned yet, called an ablative of attendant circumstances. He didn't wish to return with an empty hand. So, Cilix, we already know this is a name. Cilix, seripuit, we get our main verb here. He stole, and then we get our two accusative, ipsum priapus. He stole. Once again, these modify each other, so be very careful putting together adjectives with the nouns they modify, because they're not going to be next to each other as much as they are in the prose you're used to. So Cilix stole the priapus itself, right? So a thief of well-known greed, Cilix wanted to rob a garden. But fabulous, there was nothing in the giant garden except for a marble priapus. While he didn't want to go home empty-handed, Cilix stole the priapus itself. So, there's the entire translation. The only thing you need to be aware of that kind of makes this a joke is who Priapus is. And so, if you're interested, look it up on Wikipedia with a trigger warning, because Priapus is the god of male sexuality, which is normally depicted quite luridly on his statues, which is why Marshall thought it would be funny to have the thief steal one of these statues. So, hopefully that answers all your questions, and hopefully you did a good job trying to understand what that reading was.